The old Blackwood Manor had been abandoned for 30 years when Jake and Emma decided to spend the night there. What started as a dare between college friends would become the longest night of their lives. "Are you sure about this?" Emma whispered, her flashlight beam dancing across the mansion's cracked facade. The Victorian structure loomed against the storm clouds, its broken windows like hollow eyes watching their approach. Jake forced a laugh, though his voice betrayed his nerves. "Come on, it's just an old house. What's the worst that could happen?" They pushed through the rusted iron gate, its hinges screaming in protest. The front door stood slightly ajar, as if inviting them in, or warning them away. Inside, the air was thick with decades of dust and something else, something that made Emma's skin crawl. Their footsteps echoed through the grand foyer, where a chandelier hung at an impossible angle, its crystals catching their flashlight beams like trapped souls. "Did you hear that?" Emma grabbed Jake's arm as a soft scratching sound drifted from upstairs. "Probably just mice," Jake said, but his hand trembled as he aimed his light toward the staircase. The ornate banister was carved with faces, human faces twisted in expressions of agony. They climbed slowly, each step groaning under their weight. The scratching grew louder, more deliberate. Not mice, something much larger. On the second floor, portraits lined the hallway. The Blackwood family, Emma realized. But something was wrong with the paintings. The eyes seemed to follow them, and in the dim light she could swear the mouths were moving, whispering secrets too terrible to understand. "Jake!" Emma's voice was barely audible. "Look at the last painting." At the end of the hall hung a portrait of two young people, a man and woman, roughly their age. The resemblance was unmistakable. It was them. But the painting looked centuries old. The scratching stopped. The silence was worse. Then they heard it, footsteps above them, slow and deliberate. But there was no third floor. They'd checked the blueprints. "We need to leave, now." Emma turned toward the stairs, but Jake wasn't moving. He stood transfixed, staring at their portrait. "Jake!" She shook him, and his eyes snapped back to focus. But when he looked at her, his expression had changed. His smile was too wide, too knowing. "Don't you want to stay, Emma? We've been waiting so long for you to come home." Emma ran. Behind her, Jake's laughter mixed with other voices, dozens of them, all calling her name. The house itself seemed to shift and breathe around her as she stumbled down the stairs. She burst through the front door into the storm, not stopping until she reached her car. In the rearview mirror, she saw Jake standing in the doorway, no longer alone. The Blackwood family stood beside him, welcoming their newest member. Emma drove away, but sometimes, Mathadori, late at night, she still hears Jake calling her name, inviting her back to the place where some guests never leave. The manor still stands, waiting for the next visitors to complete its collection.